Yet another video about modifying the Harbor Freight blast cabinet. Now, I'm sure by now everybody's like, seriously, this is the third video you've done. Well, quite honestly, there are three more mods that I did do. I don't think they were absolutely necessary, but they did improve the performance of this cabinet, and I would like to share them with you. If you didn't see the previous video, please check up here. I'll put a link to that, and that was three important modifications that I think everyone should do to the cabinet. This is not so as important, but it made some significant changes and it made life a little bit easier. Now, one of the first things I want to talk about is the lighting upgrade on this particular unit. A lot of people put very bright halogen bulbs in the corner, and I'll be honest, that's what I went to the hardware store to buy, and then I ran across these little lights here, and they're just a portable work light. There's nothing fancy about them. They're 1200 lumens, but they're okay. They're not bad, and I bought these originally thinking I was going to mount them in the corners like everybody's doing a halogen, but what I found out was I got a lot of shadowing still going on, and I thought, well, if I'm looking at the item this way through this glass, then my light needs to be going in this direction as well, if that makes sense. So I mounted just one of these. I actually bought two, but I only needed one. After I played with it and lit it up, it seems okay, and I mounted it right here. Now, from the inside view of the cabinet, you can see how I mounted it. Just basically grabbed one of the existing screws and mounted it in that little bracket that came with the light. I did have to shorten the bracket a little bit, but it turned out absolutely perfect. So now when you're looking at the item that's in the cabinet, the only shadows is behind the item. So you don't have all the shadowing in the front if the bulbs are up here in the corner or the existing tube that was up there. Now it's an LED tube that came with this particular model, and I left it up in there and I actually have it powered on. It helps a little bit, but most of the light that you're seeing in this cabinet is actually coming from that one portable work light that is mounted right under here. It worked out pretty well. Now I was also able to surface mount a light switch here on the side, and basically when you flip the switch, it not only turns the lights on in the cabinet, but it gives power to this outlets on the back, and that outlet controls my vacuum cleaner. So whenever I turn on the lights, the vacuum cleaner, or aka reclaimer kit from Harbor Freight, comes on as well. So now if you look at the end of the cabinet, you're going to see this white thing that is kind of bolted to the side of the cabinet. And basically this is a piece of plastic or vinyl fence. I'll show you why I picked that in a second. But what it's doing is it's covering the existing hole that was right here. And the hole came from the factory. It was designed to port in your vacuum cleaner or your reclaimer kit. And I chose to plug my reclaimer kit on the back side of this unit. And this is the air intake. And then looking at the outside of the machine, you can see I cut a hole in one side of the fence baffle, and then there's basically a tube that air can breathe up and down. It can pull fresh air from the top of that baffle or the bottom of the baffle. Now, when I was in Menards, I found this piece of fencing and it said damaged. And I thought, ooh, damage means they're going to sell it to me cheap. And they did. I think they sold it to me for $5. But it seemed like the perfect material to put inside this cabinet and let everything vent. Now this particular fencing is made out of, I think it's probably a PVC, it's some type of plastic, but you can see it's got holes in the center, it's hollow in the center, and I just cut that hole that the vacuum port was on one side, and I left the top and the bottom open so that it can breathe. Now the final upgrade, and this hopefully is the last upgrade I'll do to this cabinet, it's actually working really well, is I upgraded the gun. Now the gun that came with Harbor Freight actually was a pretty good gun. I do want to say that it worked really well on 40 to 50 PSI, and it seemed like the more PSI I gave it, it really didn't improve it any at all. So for the most part, I blasted right in between 40 and 50 PSI, and it worked okay. But I did buy an Eastwood gun. I read reviews online that said they were a little bit better, and I must say they are phenomenally better. Now the Eastwood kit that I bought came with a foot pedal. I'll put a link down below to the kit I ordered. I actually ordered it on Amazon. I don't really care about the pedal. A lot of people said, oh yeah, foot pedal's great. It keeps your fingers from getting tired. I did not upgrade this because of that. I never really had any problem using my trigger finger. It just never got tired. So it wasn't a big deal to me, but this particular kit does not have a triggered action gun. And it comes with a foot pedal, which is actually working out okay. Either way, that doesn't bother me, but the gun works so much better, it's worth mentioning. Now the Eastwood kit not only included the gun, it also included all the hoses, tubings, all the parts and pieces to basically convert this cabinet over. I will say that the pickup tube on the bottom was a little short, but I think they intended to use this with a gravity-fed siphon tube. I do want to talk about the metering valve. I originally was going to buy one. They were like 50 to 75 bucks depending on which one you bought. I thought, I could make one of these for just a few bucks, and that's exactly what I did, and it works amazingly well. So basically, you can get these flanges in the hardware store. This is a 3/4 inch T, a 3/4 inch nipple. I did leave a cap on the bottom so I could unscrew the cap and drain off the media so I can refill it. There's a nipple here, and then it's going into another 3/4 inch T that happens to have a 1/2 inch output. And then I think this is just a PEX ball valve, but don't really matter. Whatever ball valve you can find. Mine just happened to fit a 1/2 inch, and that's what I had. And then I just reduced it to a 5/8 because that's what this line here is. It's for 5/8. This is just heater hose. It was the cheapest kind of stiff feeling hose I could find in a hardware store. But this does work amazingly well. It was one of the best upgrades I did on this cabinet. It really just changed the whole way that the media flows, and it also allowed me to use a whole lot less media than an entire bag. I literally use about 32 ounces of media. I use a big McDonald's cup, and I just fill it and dump it in there, and that's all the media it takes. And then once it wears out, you dump it out, and you only need another 32 ounces of media. So it worked out really well. This is definitely one of those modifications that I think everybody should do. So hopefully this is the last video of this cabinet that I do for a very long time. I think I have it dialed into pretty much a really good cabinet. Actually, it's the best cabinet I have used. It works really well, and it stays really clear, and the lights are really good, and I really don't know what more you could ask of a cabinet. So that's it for now. Take a look at some of my other videos. If you like these types of videos, like and subscribe. Take a look at some of my other videos, and you might find something you yourself might want to build.